How's it going, folks? Nick here with the Chayote Permaculture vlog. I got R right next to me here. Woo! He's wanting to play but also be on his own. So I missed last week's vlog. Just was too busy with work and with all the other projects and such I had going on. So it's kind of the first week I've missed one, I think, since I started, I think. So apologies for that, but here we go again. Today I just did a little bit of work this weekend, so I want to show you guys what I've been up to and also show you guys the chicks. The chicks are getting bigger, and I want to make sure I show you guys them as much as possible because they're at their cutest stage and they're starting to move into their weird kind of semi-ugly stage. So let's get to them before we do anything else today. Let's get started. Things are starting to look really good on the homestead, actually. We got lots of production happening, or potentially happening very soon, you know. Lots of fruit on, etc. Hopefully they last all the way to when I can actually harvest them and everything. But yeah, it's been quite busy back here, just trying to maintain everything. This week's been nice because it's actually been kind of wet and overcast, but not too wet, and that's pretty rare here. It's usually either way too wet or not wet enough. So it's nice to have that kind of little bit of an in-between where it would actually, I got to plant this weekend. I'll show you that in just a minute. Before I do that though, of course, here we are here, these guys. Everyone's doing really well with Mama Henry and her 6 chicks. All 6 are still alive. That is astounding to me. I usually end up losing 1 or 2 chicks in the just, you know, the rearing process and everything. It's not that I lost them, but you know, some of them get diseases and die and everything. But not having any die yet, which is amazing, basically means that we have a really good breed stock. The chickens we have here are actually used to, you know, growing up here, living here, etc. So that means they're less likely to actually succumb to any sort of disease or illness. So that's exactly what I want. So instead of vaccinating my birds, I just let them grow as they would, and if they survive, they survive. And these guys are surviving, so clearly something's good. Something good is happening. Doesn't mean that we won't have a problem. There might still be some sort of issue coming up soon, but so far so good. And once they get to this stage, usually they're a little bit easier to it's usually more likely they're going to last long term, so that's really nice to see. So you can see in here that it gets really mucky because we've had, like I said, decent amount, not huge heavy rain, but we do have enough rain to make it still mucky. So managing the bedding in here has probably been the most challenging thing so far for me, because it's just been constant. I've had to come in here most days and actually kind of continue to move this kind of bedding around. You can see they always kick it down much further, so I had to keep bringing that back up, keep adding more bedding. I've had to go and buy wood chips and hay a few times now just to make sure I have plenty of dry material to add down for them, because I don't want them to be walking around their little their little feet walking in this kind of muck and everything. It's just not good. Plus it starts to smell, especially mixed with this feed. It starts to stink really quickly, and we just don't want that. So it's quite a little bit of a management that I have to be doing here, just because they're not undercover. I think in the future, next time we're raising chicks, I'm going to make sure they have their own kind of covered area, and that's where I'll do all the feeding, just so it's not excess moisture hitting that feed and getting all over there. It just creates so much extra management for me. It's not that big of a deal. It is something that I enjoy doing. So, well, I don't really enjoy smelling that kind of stink, but that's just part of, you know, life, I guess, working on a homestead in wet climates. Can't help that too much because I do live in a rainforest. So yeah, all the other chickens are doing well. Everyone's pretty happy. But before I'm going to go in there and let them out, I just want to show you what I've been up to recently, what I've been planting, etc. So let's just show you up here. You can see here we actually have a few flowers of eggplant here, and we actually do have an eggplant on. Let's see if I can get you down there. You have let's see, a little baby eggplant right there. There's one right here. He's starting to come up. And there's also one, I believe, back on this one somewhere. Yeah, he's further down. I didn't expect to actually have eggplant do well right now because we are kind of in the winter months. Eggplant is usually more of a summer crop, but this is kind of what I like to do. I like to keep trying different things to see when the best timing is, because often the timing I think will be good, but there might also be other timings that I wouldn't have thought of. So I usually just try to keep on putting different things in different places at different times, and slowly learn what actually works best so I can then repeat that. So the eggplant took a long time to get going, so that makes sense to me because we didn't quite have enough sun, we didn't have enough heat or anything like that the eggplant typically likes. But it does like it up here, I think, because it has less direct water, direct rain falling on it because it does have this high shade. So it does get all the sun on the day, but it doesn't get as much of that moisture, which I think is really helping it under there and that nice little protected area. Obviously you can see that the fence is here. We also have the cilantro. It's finally starting to get to the point where we can harvest and actually get a little bit of a yield, so I'm excited for that. You can see not too many took, so I should probably reseed so we have some more coming in there long term. That's kind of what I want there. You can see we got another rack here. These kind of banana plantain hybrids, pretty exciting. I had a flower a while back, and I think I showed you that one, and we had the flowers. So now the rack is on. So this will be quite some time before it's actually ready, but it's really excited to have another one of these on here. Also really convenient to be right here. I just learned actually from one of the students in the Jeff Lawton course that I'm TAing for that you can actually eat the inside of this. And I got a nice recipe, so I'm really excited to try that recipe out. I am going to harvest this flower. So typically what they do is they harvest this flower once, see all the racks here? They've stopped up at this level right up here. So once they get to the point where they stop producing these racks, yeah, this is kind of the last one that maybe was produced, but now it's just getting longer and longer and no more bunches are forming here, right? No more monos. And they call them in Puerto Rico, each one of these things is a mono, like a hand. So that's a mono here, this is a mono here. So once it gets to this point, what they usually do in like big production systems is they cut this off to focus all the extra nutrients from going, instead of going down here into the flower, it'll start focusing much more here into the fruit. So that's what they do in the kind of major production systems. I typically leave the flower on just so they can go through its full natural process. But because I might actually have something I can do with this flower, and I know that this flower is really good for both for me and for my lady, for the chickens, for all the people, it might be really fun just to try that out. So we'll just cut that right here. Oh, lost the petal there. We'll cut that right there. It does mean that we're not going to get as many flowers there, but I actually have plantain about to flower further down. And I think another one of these bananas is about to flower too. So that's the thing I do like to think about. Make sure I'm not taking away someone's pollen supply if I am going to do something like that, cut the flower away. This pineapple we planted is actually, looks like it's actually going to flower this year and maybe give us a fruit. So that's really fun. I really love seeing the pineapple flowers. It does seem a little bit early, so I'm really excited to actually see something here. So fingers crossed that we'll get something there. Here, I only had 2 dill come up ever, but these 2 dill are doing really well and producing. And then I just added in here, this is apparently a cranberry hibiscus. I got that from Rio, who got that from my mom, so thanks, Mom. And this right here is a local chili, ají dulce, like a sweet chili. It's a smaller little chili, it's not a big one. So I put that up here just because I think it'll fill that space out well. And then I put over here holy basil, Tulsi basil, really nice plant to have. It's super medicinal. You can use it in teas, use it in food, etc. It's just a nice thing to have. I've been wanting to get one back here, and I actually brought back 3 or 4 of them that I kind of spread out throughout the backyard. The reason I redid this actually is because Mama and the hens got out and came up here and completely destroyed everything in this bed except for these 2 dill. So I guess the chicken don't love the dill too much. But yeah, everything in here was just ripped up, so I just kind of restarted all just the other day. They also got up into this bed, as you can see, and destroyed a whole bunch of things. That's what happens when you don't have fences around your things, and chickens might get into them. So I just kind of came through here and cut down the excess ferns on the fence line there, threw them down as mulch, and you can see there is some arugula still growing here, but this bed is looking kind of sad. One positive though is I got to see that both of these comfreys that I kind of transplanted from that root cutting a long time, they're doing great. I actually cut a bunch of those leaves right down here, use those as mulch as well, and that's kind of what those are for mainly. It's medicinal, but it's mainly for mulch for me. That's these upper beds here. Hopefully that's enough detail for you. I'm not trying to do like a major long one today. I'm just showing you a couple things that have been going on back here. Because I'm so busy, I just haven't been actually updating you guys as frequently. So I'm just trying to give you a general update of what's going on. You can probably expect this to be my busiest few months in the next couple weeks, or next couple months. Probably gonna be my busiest months as I start to adapt to this new job with the TA team and figure out my life and work schedule and all that kind of stuff. So it might be a little bit uneven in the next few weeks, but I will get back to doing normal produce blogs as usual. Check out this massive tomato. This thing, there's actually 2 plants here, just 2, and it is just spreading so much that I've had to add in. I added in a stake here, another post for the tomato to basically trellis onto, and this was actually from a sugarcane on site, so that's kind of fun. But these guys, it's constant flowers. We're getting non-stop flowering here. We have so many tomatoes on, which is really cool to see. Again, this is a plant that I didn't think would do really well here quite in this time. There's fruit all through this upper area. Here's some fruit. There's 2 right there. There's a little baby one coming on right over here. There's a bunch on this side as well. So this thing just really took over, and so I just kind of allowed it to spread out and take over this whole area. These seeds actually came from a local seed company, Desde Muerto, and I've been really impressed with the growth on this tomato, especially because, again, tomato I'd expect to be more of a summertime crop, and I was just to push the boundaries, just to learn a little bit more about what I can grow here. I wanted to start a little bit earlier. Look at this, 2 up here, there's 2 down here, there's a bunch small ones coming on back through here. There's 1, there's another. There's so many flowers that are just non-stop. So very, very impressed. They did a really good job getting this tomato used to the climate here in Puerto Rico. So I'm really impressed with their seeds, and I'm probably going to be ordering from them much more frequently, especially for things that are a little bit harder to grow in a tropical climate. Greens, that's one thing I'd probably get from them. Things like tomatoes, that's much more adapted to a more Mediterranean climate. So finding those that actually will grow here in the tropics is really a big bonus for me. Hi. Hey. How you doing? Otto's coming to say hi to you guys. He's enjoying his day, doing his little morning hunt back here. He loves to do that. He'll usually come out here with me when I'm feeding the chickens and everything, and when want to play for a while, but he'll just disappear for a while and do his little morning hunt. All right, the biggest change that happened is just this weekend, I reset this bed in its entirety. So this probably looks much different than last time you saw it, which was very overgrown, mainly seeing these guys here growing all throughout the bed. So we still have these Asian greens that have been producing nonstop for us. I'm super happy with these. These are from Baker Creek heirloom seeds. So I'm gonna basically try to let these guys go all the way to flower and seed, so I can collect these seeds, because these guys have been a powerhouse here. Other than that, in this lower bed, I add a couple more retaining wall things out of these old stair treads. So this is all from this big old staircase that I took down right here on site. So these guys are just much taller, so I added those in to give me a little bit of extra kind of barrier for the soil not to wash away. Not that it really was, but I just wanted to keep adding height to this as much as I can, because I do want to make sure I have raised beds here in the tropics. So right here I have a bed pretty much right along the edge of here. It goes right straight across. So right in here I planted carrots, and then I have a curved bed up here, so you can kind of see it goes like this. I don't know if you guys can see that underneath the mulch, but it goes kind of like that right there. And right there I planted a whole bunch of arugula, because we're getting low on our arugula supply. As you saw up there, the chickens destroyed it. So I restarted some arugula in there, and then in between there's like a little bit of a divot here just to help control the excess water so it doesn't get into the beds itself. In this little divot area I actually added the same Asian greens that I used up here in this bed. It's this green one here, and this guy just does so well, and I haven't even done anything. I didn't even show you the rest of this bed, guys. Let me pause real quick and come back to this bed. See all this basil and everything? We've harvested basil 2 or 3 times already. The bok choy to the left there, we've harvested 5 or 6 times already. And all these smaller green Asian greens you can see in between that I was just referencing, these guys have been going non-stop. And again, we've harvested 5, 6, 7 times from these plants. And I also have some celery hiding down here. So this bed has probably been my most productive bed to date so far. And that's just because the way I laid it out with kind of the companion planting mindset with the basil and tomato, and then using the space in between both the basil and tomato for greens that don't take too much out of the system. It has been doing so well. There's been barely any weed pressure. The little bit of weed pressure we do have here, you can see here, I wanted to show you this. This is really interesting to me. Check this out. The weed pressure we have, you see that little bug on there? That guy's starting to eat these leaves and everything. This weed that's been growing in here has been attracting all the pests that would otherwise be eating everything else in this bed, and it's only eating this. And this is just something that grows natively that I don't really want around, or I don't really care if it's around, but I'm not growing it for anything. And this thing is getting all the damage when all the crops I want to grow are doing just fine. Sure, there's a little bit of damage on the bok choy. That's always the case here. I find it. They just love animals love that bok choy no matter what. So, including humans. So it's always going to be eaten a little bit, but the basil and everything, barely any damage on that. The other greens, they've been just fine. The tomatoes have had no problem at all. So super cool to see, allowing those little extra weeds to grow in there. Gives something for those little beetle things to eat on. I can actually see them right now. A cool little bluish beetle here. Gives something for them to chow down on that's not the food that I'm trying to grow. So that's a big benefit for me. I'm super happy about that. In this little upper part of the bed, again, I just added one more little of that wooden stake. You can see how deep that stake is, or this board is. It's not a stake, a board. It's much deeper, so that goes all the way across down there. So that's just helping hold back that extra soil and that little bit of a slope there. And you can see there, that's the ají dulce, that sweet pepper that I actually had on the upper bed there. Right to the left there, that's another holy basil, same thing I had on the top upper bed. And right there, that's pitanga, that's dragon fruit also called. It's basically a vining cactus. And it actually needs to go over something in order to actually start producing fruit. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to trellis it up this post that I added in to act as my post for my trellis up here. I'm going to have it go up here and then go over this piece of 2x4 that's sticking out, and then we'll get the fruit right there where it's nice and easy to harvest. That's the goal. We'll see if it actually works or not. That's where I'm going to do it. This in that same pot, I had this pot given to me by my neighbor here, Cam. This pot actually had this dragon fruit, but also a couple of parcha vines coming out, some passion fruit vines, which is exactly what I want to go up and onto this post and onto this trellis and provide shade. So it was a perfect little planting location for that. Super excited to see how that goes. And I'll keep you posted on that as we go. Obviously, I'm already trying to get the passion fruit. It's already climbing up and into this tree here, but the other goal is to bring it over this way up and then to go on top of that trellis I made above the chickens to provide shade and a nice easy place for me to harvest parcha from. All right, last but not least, I'm just gonna show you this bottom bed because I think it's really cool what's happening here. I'm super excited about it. Check out this chayote. So this is also called choco. This thing has been, I basically started it right down here from one single fruit, and it's vined up. And let's just take a look at how far this is going. It's going all the way over here. It's sent out a side shoot, which came down this way and is starting to grow. It's now attached here. I just love these tendrils, the spiral kind of shape of these tendrils, super cool. But yeah, it came out this way. Let's go back to the fence line. Look at this, going all the way this way. It's still going, it's still going, and it's still going. And that's the leading tip right there. And that's level with the entry of my chicken pen right here. So check that out. That thing, from all the way down there, that's come all the way up this way. And check it out, we actually have a couple flowers. I'm starting to see flowers on it, which I'm super excited about. So I'll show you right here. That's the flower. That's the flower of the choco, the chayote. This is where they will actually start to get the fruit from, hopefully. Here's one as well right up here. I actually don't really know how to tell the female. I don't know if there's a female flower and a male flower. Usually there is. I don't know if they grow on different plants. I hope not. I only have one plant. So hopefully we have everything we need for fruit to be setting. Just to go back to the chayote, let's say it's going this way, right? Coming over. It's coming down, it's starting to grow up and into this sugar cane. It's also going down that way and into the little valley ditch there. So it's just non-stop growth going on here. I actually think I might have one chayote on right now. Let's see. That tiny little guy right there, I think that's the start of our first chayote. This guy right there where my finger is. Oh, right there, right there. I think that's the start of a chayote. I don't know. I've never grown these before. That just looks like the start of a little baby fruit. So we'll see. I'm really excited about it. The other thing I'm really excited about I did mention it earlier, is starting to get my first plantain flower ever on this site. And honestly, it's my first plantain ever. It's a terrible lighting for you to actually see it, but it is there, I promise. But yeah, super excited to see the first flower. There it is. That's a better angle. First time I've ever grown a plantain from the little tiny baby that I put in the ground, and then it's popped up. So I'm really excited about that. These plantains are supposed to be super good. These are the ones that they eat all the time here in Puerto Rico. So really excited to have those on site. Really cool to see that all the time. Also want to show you down here, so many beans going all throughout this area. And what I found was really cool, did not mean to do this, but this is something that I found just through experimentation, is I planted this amaranth, which isn't doing that great, but it's still producing. I can still harvest this every once in a while. but the beans are actually using the amaranth to trellis up onto. So you can see there's a whole bunch of beans up that way. We're starting to actually get green bean production on here. You can see a bunch of little baby green beans happening right here. There's flowers everywhere. So this is going to be starting to be pretty productive down here, which I'm quite excited about. We still got some winged bean production going on. So these are the two down here. This is winged bean. This is a perennial bean that I'm really excited about. I'm leaving these two to actually go all the way to seed, hopefully, so I can use this for my next round on site here. But I do have one right here that I could probably start harvesting anytime now to bring in. So super excited to actually see those going, and we actually finally got the other two vines climbing up. It took me probably 2 months to actually get those things to actually start going up all the way. So really excited to see that too. This bottom bed is one of those things, one of those stories I think that's really cool. I'll leave the link to it when I first started above. I keep linking back to that just because this bed I started with soil made right on site, right above here with the chickens. It's made from an old staircase. The bed itself is made from an old staircase. Again, right here on property, scrap material. The only thing I had to buy to make this bed was the chicken wire, just to keep the chickens out for sure. I wanted to make sure that they did not get in here and ruin my long-term garden here. So that's the only thing, this chicken wire. That's all I needed to buy for this. Everything else came from right on site, and that's something that I think is super cool, and that everyone should aim for it. You know, obviously you're gonna have to bring in some things, import where you need to import, but getting to the point where you can actually produce everything right on your site, or the majority of things, finding a way to reuse those materials that are already on site for you in a positive way. That's what's really cool and what I love about permaculture design, using what's around you, using the resources you have, and really just making the best out of what you can get. So really excited to share that with you guys. Hopefully that inspires you to also do something similar in your backyard. You can pretty much work with whatever you got and just learn how to work with it. I didn't know how to work with all the things I had when I first started here. Now I'm starting to get it. Takes some time, but you can learn it too. All right, folks, that's it for me today. I got to get on to finishing up the chores and then getting to work, so I can't stay too long. You can see here the chicks and Henry are now in the main pen. They come in here on a fairly regular basis. I have a couple little spots in the fence where it's lifted up so they can get through, but you can see that right now it's working because the rooster is further down in the pen. So he's down there. If he starts to come up here, she's going to run away with the chicks, because the Henry and our rooster still do not get along, even though that she's raising his young. So, you know, you work with what you can get. Sorry, Henry, that's what you got to deal with. All right, folks, that's it for me today, and also it for Otto today. We're gonna we're gonna keep going on our chores this morning so we can get into work mode. Otto probably will not be going into work mode. He'll probably go into nap mode. But just want to say goodbye. Thank you so much for watching. Thanks for understanding that I did not quite get to a video last week. That's just going to happen probably more and more frequently, but I'm going to still try to push for every week to get at least one video out for you guys. That's my goal, and we'll see where I can get from there. So if you do like what I'm doing, please subscribe to the channel, like the video, share the videos, all those things. It really helps me get more people to see my videos and really helps the channel grow. So I really appreciate that. Until next time, have a good one.